So someone asked, could you mention a couple of red flags for these women running around here these days? And I mentioned in previous podcasts, but divine feminine is a red flag. Where did they get that term from? Who knows? But it's not a good place. Why is that? Well, what do we have? Well, we have 1917ists that were political operators and psychologists that specifically targeted women for nefarious political reasons. So what is a big weakness women have? Well, it's vanity, so they boost them up. They gave them feminism, which is they're divine because they're female and they have all these powers, and they teach them how to bully and manipulate men for political reasons. So they have their crappy candidate that appeals to the women, then all the women vote for them, and then they get their crappy candidate in. Not only that, these women get these 9-to-5 jobs for political patronage. And that's where you see these weirdos that don't feel like they have to conform to any social standards and have big mouths and complain about men and say that they're the problem of all history. And they got really elaborate theories and very, very hateful books that are totally wrong and could be easily identified as memory war material, like a warlike propagandistic material, because it was started during the First World War, which should make you a little alarm bells should go off. But see, they want to buy the nonsense that appeals to their vanity. So divine feminine, how vain can that be? These women aren't divine. They just like to think they are, which means they're beyond being reproached because they're such godlike beings. Does that sound like a woman you want to be around? Me neither. So yeah, divine feminine, and that, guess what? They open up their big mouths and they like to talk to other women about that. Because they got that homophilic kind of vibe to them, because that's a narcissistic trait. And if you look into malignant narcissism, it's an infantile state. It sort of makes them like little petulant babies that won't listen and throw tantrums and stuff like that. Sound like somebody you know? Well, guess what? It's all made worse by ideology. So divine feminine is one, and the other is they all jumped on paganism, essentially, apparently, because then they can start dealing with concepts like sex, magic, and other activities that never were really good for society as a whole. Now, look, don't get me wrong, prostitution, it's the oldest profession, right? And women have been on top of that since forever. Now, that's one thing. But the magic part, combining magic with that, does that mean manipulation? Because that's how you should hear it. So sex magic, that's flag number 2. What do they know about that? They're probably not going to tell you what they've been up to, which might involve any old thing with any old one at any old time. And you're just supposed to put up with it because it's so divine. That third armpit is really divine, is what they're going to tell you. But look, simps, they're coming out of the factories by the dozens and thousands at this point. Had only contact with their mothers, estranged from their fathers. The culture itself has been Homer Simpsonized at best, but at worst, just annihilated. It's just men deserts that feminism is directly, well, 1917 is feminism, and plantationists are directly responsible for. So those are some big dang red flags. Politicized women. Yeah, that's a red flag. What do they know about politics? They've been emotionalized and drilled. But getting back, how did they get into this? Well, yeah, the feminism jumped on it. See, paganism was coming out, like new archaeology, new people writing. Where are all these toxic women? Well, they were in the universities getting 1917ified, and then they jumped on it. And now they think they own it, and they have a bunch. Apparently, they're running Sims and these other ideas, and they think they're the ones that everything should revolve around. But keep in mind, all these deities and stuff like that, a couple of books that were written, does not make for historical accuracy. Okay, maybe there's a couple of things that people can postulate, but what they made out of it is completely wrong. A female-centric, dominant kind of religion, and so that's what feminists were looking for. That's why they jumped on it, and they have to throw in a couple of perks, but the rest of it, look, with a prostitute you pay and you leave, right? With these ones, they have a magic, they want to put some type of magic spell on you for life. And don't take this stuff lightly. Look, the magic, you don't know what that can mean for you. But I would suggest that it's not going to be anything good. Like voodoo is something that has zombies in it and magic. Okay, so you want to be a zombie? So the other third flag, anything dark, like they're into the dark arts. They're looking like this goth thing is also gonorrhea. Look, we are not meant to be sad, morose, depressed, angry kind of people. Now, it's understandable that in our terroristic, socio-cultural, economic, and political times, that a lot of people are not living very well, including the psychological dimension, but that's exactly where good practices and good religions come in. Because in the past, when the times got tough, that's what our peoples adopted, and it wasn't no damn Babaholian kinds of hot nonsense. So that's the other thing. These universities were taken over by women, and the admissions were skewed in their favor in the 90s. And if they were in there during the Cultural War from let's just say 1990 till today, they are dogmatic robots. They've been trained to see things in a female-centric way. These are not women you can really have any type of meaningful or good relationship with. I mean, I'm not going to count them out entirely, but I wouldn't base my serenity on a relationship with someone that already has 1, 2, 3 red flags, because that's it. That's a wrap. 3 strikes, you're out. 3 flags, no way. And those 3 flags that I mentioned, sex, magic, divine feminine, or any type of politics, that would be 1 flag and a done flag. So to wrap it up, first off, they don't know what they're talking about. Second off, it was a political skewing. Third off, the reason why they all jumped on it, because they were all there. They like to get the new information. Some universities have some half knowledgeable people, and then they're the first ones to jump on it, and then they screw it up from the get-go. They make it disreputable from the beginning, which is another aspect of the cultural war. You have all these robots sent into cool directions that they never would have been sent into, and then they try to flip it. And in many cases they have. I have not visited any neo-pagan type of rituals, but if I did, I probably would be outraged at how ridiculous and female-centric it is. So, what is not natural? Yeah, taking orders from women as a man. Okay, now there's a certain point. Look, your mothers, you should be listening to them to a certain extent, unless she's totally crazy like these other ones are. Okay, but you still have to show her respect. Look, the Buddha, he said the parents are very important karmically, no matter what they did. You have to internally come to terms with them in a good way. Now, forgiveness is something that can come in time, but you really do need to dedicate yourself to that and see it as a part, an absolutely essential part of karma, because it is. Your parents are the reason why you are alive. So were they very challenging? Well, guess what? Now your challenge is to get over that, and you have to do it if you want to be enlightened. You know, you want to not suffer needlessly. You have to do it. Now, somebody said psychoanalysis was lying on the couch and complaining about your parents. I think it has denigrated into that, and that's really wrong. Now, you might have issues, but those issues can be solved in a skillful way, and that's what you need to be looking at. But these all men this, all men that, women or women that won't take any criticism of women, you can't criticize women, otherwise you're a hater type women. Don't even F them. They've already F'd themselves. They're F'd. They developed the Loki egg in themselves. They're big liars and big manipulators and big life wreckers. And they're not good mothers, they're not good cooks, they're not good really at anything. They say they bring the sex magic, probably for some other dudes, not you. But they'll have you do the dishes and cook for them because they're divine. So, spoiler alert on that one. I didn't happen to me, but the way these ladies look. Remember, when they're dressing like little scantily clad things, if you think that looks good, you might think so, and the 10,000 other men that they're using that on. So you're not special to them. And they're in the numbers game. And the numbers don't work in your favor. So, ladies, if you fell into that, your vanity and your education brought you to be a pagan torpedo, just stop that nonsense now. If you got tattoos, laser them off and change your hairstyle. Dyeing your hair black doesn't make you look edgy. Heavy lipstick and eye makeup, that's just a corny look. Crack open a couple of books on style for females from maybe the I don't know, maybe there's a world book. You know, go back to Mesopotamia if you want to, and start breaking, doing the real style, like Arcadian style. Let's see some Arcadian style women walking around instead of these goths and grunge goop kind of women. So now, were there priestesses in ancient cultures? Yeah, we don't really know how it was all done. That's the final analysis, because the entire civilization died out. Now, there's different reasons for why that was, but if you go to the 2nd century in Rome, where there were some historians that wrote some things down, they had some of these out-of-pocket women saying that their wu-wang was divine, and they got a bunch of slaves together. And now remember, these are white slaves, you know? The whole book on white slavery hasn't been written yet, but Rome was full of white slaves, you know, plebs, peons, plantationists, just like us today, that we don't think we're that because we're not told we're that. Other people are that. other races are that, but we've been slaves since forever. So, and slaves were not really motivated to follow the rules and do things the right way, or be moral, or be upstanding. Because it isn't a good way of living. So, what do we have today? We have slaves and a bunch of these slave drivers in cute outfits saying that they know what happened back in a time where that's very hypothetical. And it just so happens, it turns out, and it's sort of a form of feminism, religious form of it. So the old gods now don't. I think what they're doing is pretty shambolic and reprehensible, and I also think it's gonna have some bad karma for them. So don't fall for it. Look, Sims like to think with the dingling, they hear sex magic, they're like, I'm on that. But that is the wrong way, fool. You should just paint on, when you hear that word, now you know. See, that's why red flags are really important. If somebody had given me that tip at like 18, I don't think I would have needed that tip, but it is sort of something that sounds like it could sell some people, so be advised. They try to flip the script. And remember, when they say divine masculine, because they always like to try to bring in this fake equality nonsense, which makes no sense on any level. Your job is to create life, which means knock them out. Well, look, 80% of men don't need to have anything to do with women or have any kids with them. So how am I not divine if I don't get myself mixed up with some shady female? Well, only according to their religion would I be that. So that's why they adopted it and are looking for suckers to join it. So don't do it. You're a pagan, you tolerate women like this, you're a disgrace. Your ancestors didn't do that. They didn't let themselves get dumped with a bucket of hot BS and lap it up like little monkeys. So you're a disgrace, and these women too. But what's a disgrace? I would just say sort of absurd and laughable. I always like to bring it to comedy because it is. It's a joke played on them by Loki. And they worship him apparently because they produce his kind of content, which is a bunch of lies and baloney. That sounds pretty damn convincing. Mara, yeah, that does sound like 5 cents from kind of stuff, doesn't it? What would the Buddhists say about that? So look, there's been lots of religions, and not all of them have been good or successful or meaningful. Some of them have been strange and bizarre, like the Aztecs cutting out hearts and cannibalizing the body as they throw it down the pyramid, one after the other. That's not something modern people need to be getting into. Okay? I don't care where you're from. Even if you're from Mexico, that's not something you need to relive. What other things? The U.S., there's been, even in the West, there's been stupid, screwy kind of cults and whatnot. What was it, the UFO cult? Nobody needs to dig that up and recreate that franchise. People have done a lot of stupid things. Just because it's ancient doesn't mean it's good or the understanding of it is correct. So it's shameful, it's disappointing, it's screwy, but it's also part of a cultural war that was set off to create these types of wonky situations, relationships, and sadistic dynamics between men and women. It's all about poor. What's love got to do with it? They want the poor. They don't want one simp, they want 1,000 or more. And even that's not enough for their vanity, and that hole down there has got room for more. So in olden days, that would be considered something like avarice, and also hygienically disfavorable, because there's a lot of sensitive equipment, biological equipment down there that if it gets sprayed with contaminated fluids on a regular basis, that it can cause internal rottings. So it's biologically not congruent, psychologically it's not even close to the spectrum of normalcy. It's abnormal. And it's not advisable for men or women. And it's disrespectful towards the ancient religions, because it's basically hot nonsense in a new packaging. So look, ladies, you got fooled. You can do a full-on change makeover. And I'm not going to say you have to say you found Jesus, but some women have done that and it worked for them. And then they did resolve themselves to be decent human beings, and some of them managed it. And why is that good? It's not just good for society, but it is good for the practitioner. And individual karma, nobody's going to be there when you get tossed into hell for your misdeeds in this dimension. On the other hand, nobody's going to be there if you're given wings and elevated into the heavenly realms. All of that is your responsibility. So you want to blame men and this and that they don't listen to that jazz when game is over. You come with that nonsense and they pull out your scroll and look at it, you're going to the lowest pits of hell. And I would never, ever, ever advise any woman do that, because I'm not a hater of women, but the lover of them. Yes, that's right. Lots of love for lovely ladies, but not for the bad ones. That doesn't make me a bad person. Quite the opposite. But here's the other compassionate part. I know that anybody can go wrong for any reason. But I also know that they can pick themselves up and they can redeem themselves. So look at that type of compassion I'm bringing to the game. But yeah, I don't think you ever should have went to university if that's what you learned. Things like that. How to be a toxic robot and a torpedo. So ask for your money back. You deserve it. In fact, you should ask for your money back and damages on top, because they've been significant. Significant to you and significant to the culture, which is now sort of known for having toxic women, which are a negative value anywhere in the world. It's not really what they promised to do to you, was it? You don't feel like you're that, do you? You feel like you're so much more superior than everyone else. So that's what you paid for, is a delusional conceit that's sociologically active at this time, but probably not in the years to come. So you're obsolete no matter how old or young you are. They made you obsolete. And you should really look at some of the older monstrous women that pushed it, the first wave of it, second wave, they look like the monsters that they are. And you best believe they're not going to be making it to the heavenly realms. Quite the contrary. So if that is a wake-up call for some of you, good. If it isn't, you never needed to hear it. It doesn't apply to you. You're far away from that criticism. You're lucky. Feel that gratitude. Breathe it in. Your family, your karma, whatever, kept you from a torpedoism. Just say, God, thank God right now for that. Because a lot of it is environment. Look, these women were set up to fail. And their parents and everybody thought they were doing the right thing. It's a deceptive kind of con. So I feel a lot of sympathy for them as they are. In my opinion, they are victims of the culture war. Yeah, absolutely. And the people that did that to them, they're criminals. Like, really, criminals. Like, criminals that should not be anywhere but in jail. And that's based not just because I don't like it, it's based on the statistics that are horrifying and detrimental to civilized society anywhere. So, but yeah, coming back to men for a second, your job is not to knock up women. You need to take that into serious consideration and give it like a year or two of living with the woman to see how she is, how she deals with other kids, how she deals with you, and still, you guess what? The relationship's going to change fundamentally. Her focus is going to be on the kids, and you're going to be third place. It's going to be kids, animals, and then you. So if that's what you want, then go into it without any illusions. And then, yeah, she better be the mother that she wanted to be. Because that is her primary responsibility. And it takes a lot. I'm not going to take anything away from women, and I'm not going to diminish childcare at all. I think it's extremely important. Because if those kids are just thrown somewhere, that's where you get a lot of messed up kids, which means messed up people later. And that's not good, is it? So keep your eyes open out there. Hey, write in the comments the rest of the red flags out there, the new ones, and just so we can keep an up-to-date things. And I think it's good for women to see these too, so they don't do them. Like, they don't fake that they don't have them, that they, if they have them, they stop pursuing them. Because that would be instructional, that would be beneficial, that would be healthy. But of course, 1917ists, any criticism is an existential threat to their glass egos. So because they feel like they're being killed by being criticized, they overreact in a maniac kind of way that is known to be terroristic and to be 1917ists. So don't equate what they do and say when they're offended to any type of legitimate criticism or concern. They're also very afraid. They feel like they've been assaulted. You know, read Scarlet Letter from Nathaniel Hawthorne. It's the Hawthorne complex. They like to use that too. These are manipulative people with very little integrity that would do things of the lowest nature, like emphatically lie about things in public that normal people wouldn't. Scarlet Letter, Nathaniel Hawthorne. That phenomenon is repeated throughout history at different times. It's sort of a defective kind of female personality that can arise from time to time. But, effective. I have to talk about a defective male personality. Well, how about a steroided up, over-competitive, ready to commit acts of violence for any reason kind of men? They're also sort of the equivalent of that female personality that I mentioned. Because, I like to be balanced in my criticisms when I talk about ladies, because they seem to get obsessed about people that might make one criticism or two about them, and they're not so divine nature. their vanity takes a kick, like a kick to the butt. They don't like that. But should you cater to them? Should you believe them blindly? And I'm automatically a bad man. Man, I'm so insecure. I got a little ding-a-ling, and that's why I'm doing this. Is that what your little toad-like brain automatically believes when you hear criticism? What is that? How you were trained in school? Like, what? These men are just men on paper. They really have had a lot lobotomized out of them. Like, what do we want to call it? Virtue? Because look that word up etymologically. Virtue. Where does vir come from? Where did are words magic? Is that right? Is a word magic? Words are magic. Yes, they are. Vir two. Didn't know that, did you? You're a dummy. You're on the surface. You're a water bug, making all these ridiculous sounds and noises and movements and ideas and dumb books. And oh, that's the other thing. Yeah, in the cultural war, publishing industry is questionable. It's politicized. The university's politicized, so you combine those two, and then you get these torpedoes in there, and they're all talking the same type of nonsense all at the same time, and then you're the person that has to deal with them. So yeah, that's the cultural terrorism component. It's like an ostracization. You're ostracized out of toxic bubbles of better than thous and know better. What do they know it better than you? They think they got a degree. And it was just like that. They were learning nonsense the whole time by trainers from North Korea, essentially. Just think of it that way. So tragic, hell yeah. The future, no. Can you protect yourself? Yes. Can you change? Yes. So it's not all that bad, is it? It would be better had they never learned that nonsense in the first place. But let us not forget that some people will say, do, or learn anything to justify or rationalize what they were going to do anyway. And if it unlocked their inner toot, and that's the fancy music they want to play for that, then that's their choice, isn't it? But it's nothing but a bunch of nonsense. Now, here's a topic that might not be related, but it's the concept of culture jamming. I think it's something every person in the West needs to look at from different angles. Because if you go into the terrorism of the 1917s and Asia in general, you're dealing with a lot of different groups, i.e. nations, that have their own cultures, their own histories, their own languages, and their own ethnocentric or ethnicity, right? They're different. You've got the Yakutis, for example. You got the Baratis. You got lots of different people. But see, that doesn't matter to the Russian state, or it does matter in that what they do is they find out they send cultural specialists to jam them up. So culture jamming is an act of terrorism, and it is something that experts can ascertain beyond a reasonable doubt. And it is a crime. It's a crime against the people that are being suppressed by an outside organization. Now, who else knows about this? Well, Ukrainians, Poles, the Balts, and wherever the Russians showed up. But see, the Russians don't consider themselves to be They consider themselves to be a borderless entity, which is what the International was in 1919. And so they sent same type of people into other Western countries. For example, France has a lot of them. They're alternative history, alternative reality kind of. It's psychological attackers, political, psychological, cultural attackers. That has a political component to it. That also has an international or global component to it. So, what do your people like and what do they think is good? Well, they're going to try to jam that up. It's a way of suppressing the people. So, now what other nefarious people could pick up those techniques? Well, anyone. It's a franchise. It's like McDonald's. It's political oppression. So, what's another thing they do? Well, they'll go into the opposition, pretend to be that, but not be that. Still have the connections with the international. So, the Orbanism is like fake conservatism. But if you have a uni party like Tories and Labour, you can see that it's all about optics. Like they say they're conservative, but they're not. But then now you're in some type of weird discussion that's psychobabble-ist. So that's culture jamming. That's also a form of terrorism. So people responsible for that, yeah, they're terrorists, political terrorists. Who allows them to do it? Who employs it? Well, they're terrorists too. So you could have the anti-cultural terrorism bill, ACTB. ACTB, yeah, get that one signed and get on these people that have been doing this and just pretending like it's really edgy and cool. Because they also have cultural, like they'll support labs of cultural jammers and then turn it into sort of a PR campaign and roll it out in your country using fifth divisionists to do it. So that bill needs to be passed. And then you need to have the enforcement on it, like no questions at all, like anywhere down the line. And you can't have a bunch of fakers in the legal system that let people go or let them off or give them a slap on the wrist. Cultural jamming is one of the worst crimes against humanity that any one could do, and especially against Westerners, against the United States, against Europeans. So I understand, there's been a major stupefaction of the culture. Like just watch some films from like 1950 and compared to today. Where they actually had a plot, they had acting, they had actors, they had casting, they had set makers, right? The quality of the film is 100 times more than the crap they produce today. But it's good as a cultural reference because you can look how they've been mainstreaming jamming. Like, just like when you cut up fentanyl, these bastards, they get the pure stuff and then they cut it up with all types of junk, like aspirin or baking soda. And you could say they're culture jamming their fentanyl. And so you also can't really know how strong the dose is. So, one day you get it from this guy and you need to take 3 pills to feel this way. The other guy, you just take 1 pill and you die. Kind of thing. So these are people, they don't have a problem with mass murder. They are on the record for doing that. It's all about politics. It's all about power. And it might even not have anything to do with you personally. It's just they're trying to poison and toxify as many things as they can. Do you have a great trash removal system in your place? Well, they're going to try to mess that up so that trash piles up on the street. They're going to try to politicize something. mainstream some cultural values that are culture jamming. And if they can get it into legal frameworks, they'll do that too. If they can combine lawfare with the cultural jamming, like DEI, then that is a massive attack on their opponents. And then they have their fifth divisionists carry it out propagandistically, legally, however else. So you need to start spotting it and then connecting the dots. The people that are doing that kind of work are essentially spies, right? You know, spy not in the sense that they're trying to figure something out, but they're trying to wreck something. They're saboteurs. They're intentionally jamming your culture, and you and whatever companies affiliate with that is just thinks that they can continue doing that. Well, not once that bill is passed. They'll get a $3 million fine, and everyone involved with it has to show up to a gray building with bars on the windows. So taking the piss is not something our culture was ever set up to do. So it got sort of that way. We have a culture of piss taking now, but that culture is going to go away real soon. And you do need to connect the dots. Fifth Division is, they were set up by these people. They feel themselves very much superior morally. That's another little weird gimmick and game they have. Moralizing when they have nothing to stand on. And you have to realize, get yourself into the mindset of a 1917ist. God does not exist for them. That's just a funny story. That's opium. That's dopium, they think. Okay. So they don't even have any worries about dressing up and playing pretend as religious people, which they do too, which is also culture jamming. Why do we have a bunch of Christian people acting crazy and looking stupid and saying crazy stuff? Well, I'm willing to bet they're probably the type of culture jammers that I'm talking about. Music, right? The theater, right? Film. What else? Radio, news, all of those things. And now, direct political operatives as well. That will, for example, parrot far-right points, but actually be connected via urbanism to gangsterism and cultural jamming. So these are very sophisticated, interconnected, dynamic, majorly funded, majorly organized attacks. And we need to turn the corner on it and put it to rest, like rockabye baby style. And we do that with that bill. So let's get that one passed and then see where that one goes. But there's got to be a lot more bills being passed and a lot more things done to preserve and enrich our culture and not attack it and jam it. So good example of that, the Republican National Convention, whoever curated that is a bunch of culture jammers. Democratic side is all culture jammers, more or less. So people engaged in that, they're engaging in criminal and terroristic activity that at this point is illicit. But with a bill, that could change. And it really does need to change for us to get back on track. People have completely underestimated the 1917ist attack. In many ways, people think it's a done deal. People who have signed over their souls to the devil, these old-timers, these old-timey torpedoes, they're going straight to hell, believe me. But they shouldn't be able to continue that franchise. Not with a straight face, not once they know that they're engaging in criminal activity and everybody else knows too, how are they going to show up and say they're a good person somewhere? So these people have flipped the script on us. Let's flip it back. Let's have them do some double backflips for a change into nothingness. Let's have them go away instead of what they had in store for us. Also with their little plantationist class stooges, you know, they're the right wing of the Globocarian bird, the gloopist, the glopist, the Ponziists. Call them the Ponzi class. How about that one? Look at Argentina. That's just, 5 years away. If they can pull the right-wing gloopist kind of version of their gloop on the political scene. So let's not forget, they got teams of people, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people working every day to jam our culture. Something they don't allow in their hermetically sealed zones where they have like 100% disinformation rate. Do you think that's the better system because they got a couple of fakers that know how to repeat some things that good people say? I think you could be mistaken and see that's deceptive, isn't it? So that's something that spies, do. They misrepresent themselves and their interests, and they're harmful. So we need to have a full cultural review. What has been promoted? What should not be promoted? Who has done this and who is responsible? And flipping a culture program. We need to go back into renewal. We need renewal programs, like starting from zero, like a completely denuded landscape of culture. We need to have some type of program that can start something up for the people we're dealing with. Like, I don't think it should be a one-size-fits-all, right? Native Americans, we need to sit down with their premier experts and try to get them back in proper shape with them, working together with them to preserve their culture as a worthy one. For example, I heard they have big problems with alcoholism. We need to bring in some experts to deal with that. Then we got other cultures, for example, black culture. Look, black culture doesn't want to be white culture. White culture doesn't want to be black culture. I can talk to black people all day. They like their culture. They like their people. They like doing things the way they like to do things. And I think we can help them do that. But we're not going to jam each other up because they're the suckers in this game that these jammers are using against the culture as a whole. So they might get a payout as a little token. If you're a little tokenist, you get your little payout. You get to go in the masses house on the plantation. You get to pay, get paid, get to wear little suits. You heard those stories, didn't you? That's how it worked in the old days. So you're not better than any other person. And like I said before, slavery, there's been more white slavery than black slavery. There's been more white slaves. You go back in history, Rome was built on slavery. White slaves, dummy. Your slavery is nothing special. How do you think the pyramids were built? Now, see, people get crazy on that. The pyramids, it was North Mediterranean. You had the Sahara. You're sub-Saharan. Egypt was like European. It's a Greek, Mesopotamian kind of place. At least the ancient version of it. The modern version, well, that all went down in the Middle Ages, and it was a catastrophe. And sort of still is to this day. So, look, memory wars are something these jammers do too. They'll tell you any type of different story to get you jammed and also get you in some type of weird state of funky animosity with other people that had nothing to do with nothing. But if you're going to be a 1917ist, then people should also treat you that way. Whether you be black, brown, blue, yellow, green, or what have you, because they come in all colors. They got programs for them all. What do you think the Chinese are, man? 1917ists, that's right. They got a whole fake history served up to them by psychologists of their own kind. How about that? It's a franchise. It's McDonald's of the scrambled egg mind kind. But you don't need none of them Whoppers. It's not healthy. So I have gotten along fine with black people who were fine themselves. But I also know some black people know, but other black people aren't all that good. They're the ones that have to put up with the most craziest of them all. So what? I'm somehow some terrible person for speaking the truth? When did that happen? When did that happen to the culture? Well, see, wouldn't culture jammers see some benefit in that? Look, I know we have problems. Look, we got problems on both sides. White people are dying of drugs all over the place. They have gone crazy. They have driven white people off a cliff. So black people, they got their own problems too. But I think the wisest amongst you, of course, can make deals and negotiate with the wisest amongst us. And we can both work together to eliminate these problems, maybe not by doing it the old way, but doing it in a couple of new ways that does eliminate the problem forever, or as much of it as one can. And that we can mutually support each other. You need a police force to take out a bunch of terrorists that have set fire to the airport. Just give me a call. I don't see any sense in that. Good neighbors, look, when neighbors are doing good, then everything's fine. When not, then the neighbor can come and call and we can see what we can do to solve that problem. But telling me I'm some type of devil just because I'm born the way I have been is not going to get the results that the person who does that might think they're going to get. Because they haven't really thought that through. They haven't differentiated. They're not taking a nuanced, human, compassionate approach. You know what? When I show up in Africa, people smile. They're glad to see me. All those black hands, they stretch them out so that they can shake my hand. So why in the world, if I happen to be in my home country, the blessed United States of America, that I can't see some happy faces and some hands stretched out towards me in the spirit of friendship? What the hell happened to your minds if they're that damn close? Well, I'll tell you what happened. A lot of you got jammed. You're jammed up. Right? They got these stories. And if you believe them, you're done. Like, how about they said the whole country of Ukraine belongs to them because they say so. Anybody who doesn't believe that is an enemy. That's what they did. 1 week it was the old story, the next week it was the new story. How many people have died? Nobody knows. It's in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands at this point. So this stuff can go very wrong very quick. So you need to get your minds right, get your morals right, and get your look, when your family's doing good and your community is doing good, everybody is happy for you in the entire world. But even if they weren't, it doesn't matter. You get the benefit of that. So be a good person. Why is that good? Well, because then you get good things. It is that way. Now, it's not automatic, right? This plane of purgatory was not meant to be heaven. It was meant to be challenging. But you don't win that challenge by giving in to animosity and hostility. Are there problems? Yes. Can they be solved? Yes. How can they be solved? Well, that's what we need to start thinking about, don't we? But it's not going to be an extractionist model. It's not going to be a blaming model. It's not going to be an integrating model. But it is going to be a model based on mutual respect and compassion and a deeper understanding of our cultures. I think the Black community could really benefit from cultural rejuvenation. And I think there are experts that might be able to help us in those matters. But it's not my job necessarily to do that, but I wouldn't be against having something like that set up so that y'all can get back on your feet and live in a way that is not just beneficial to you, but won't drive you crazy in the large numbers that we've been seeing. Look, there are countries in Africa that are doing well. There are communities of Africans that are living well. Yes, there are. So those are the things people need to study and get in touch with and start working with, instead of a failed model that involves a lot of culture jamming in it and ideologues and a hostile geopolitical third party that is pushing wrong narratives, wrong solutions, wrong ideas, and flaming animosities. So is it an easy problem? No, it's not. But is it a problem that can be solved? It certainly can. And I don't see why it needs to be worse than it needs to be. It's already been pretty bad. I think we can admit that. I'll be the one that says that. Other people are saying everything's fine. Look, you think those people are going to help you that don't even admit that their problems exist? Huh? You need to understand, make a difference between vanity and reality. Because reality-based people, their heads are not up in the clouds. They see the problems. They're not going to lie about that. Look, if I break my leg, I don't want nobody telling me my leg ain't broken. That's not the doctor I need. I know the leg is broken. I need to heal it. I need to fix it. I need to get off my feet for a while. That's what I need to do. I don't need somebody to tell me get back to work because nothing's wrong. Because that's what these other, what do we want to call them? Illusionists, delusionists, idealists, jammerists. How do you want to call them? Because that's what they're doing. And like I said, these types of animosity programs were designed by wig flippers of the enemy variety. And it's documented. It's just not talked about in captured places because it's an inconvenient truth for them to admit. But it shouldn't be for you. You're an honest person. There ain't no truth that's inconvenient for you, is there? Give me the truth. I don't want that cut fentanyl stuff. Give me the straight stuff so I know if I'm going to die if I take even a pinch of it. Not that I would ever take that crap, and neither should any of you all. But look at how that's working in your communities, and then they're going to say they got everything under control. They don't got nothing under control. See, that's just the PR. As long as they're able to maintain that, things will not improve. You get me? So I will be 100 for you, with you. I'm not going to say I'm your best friend, okay? I'm not going to say I want to live where you live or take what you have. I'm not going to say that because it's not true. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't want to visit every once in a while and see that everything's doing great. And then leave. Like when you want to do your things your way, that's fine. I don't need to be there. The world is a big place. And vice versa. But there's no problem. People never had problems with that until people started making problems with that. So who are the problems? It's the problem makers, isn't it? So, but again, that's not just for black people. Look, Asian people too. You know, I have immense amount of respect for South Koreans, Taiwanese, and Japanese, as well as Thailand, and a couple of other countries. But they live differently. And their cultures are valuable. And if they try to do my culture their way, it wouldn't be the same thing. Now, this is not to say that culture is static. It isn't. But I think it's great when they bring something new and different, which is entirely theirs, to the world stage. And I don't have to feel threatened by that. I don't have to say that this is mine and not theirs or any of that type of thing. I can just appreciate it as being different, unique, and wonderful. Now, on the other hand, if they start invading my country and telling me that that's not happening, and that, or I should just go along with it, or I should just accept that, then that's sort of crossing an invisible line or two, isn't it? I think I would have to revise my opinion at that point. Now, who would be doing that? Well, we would just have to look at the people who are doing that and then see how they do that, and then that's not what will be acceptable in the future. And in fact, some of the trends might have to be reversed because they were carried out on false pretenses and by cultural jammers, which is a crime against humanity, an illicit one at this point. But with that new bill, that's one step closer to civility, dignity, and respect. Now, of course, I don't want to rail on this Vance dude, but more information just keeps coming to light. And that whole strategy, what I said is that robots use very closely worded statements to far-right statements, but there's just a catch in them that makes them look ridiculous, buffoonish, or over the top. Like, for example, the problem with women these days, it's a big problem. But what's his statement? That they should stay in abusive relationships that are violent. Like, how freaking ridiculous is that? Nobody in the right mind would say something like that. But see how it makes the whole position look ridiculous, that they know that a lot of men think it's a big problem, but they want to make the men look ridiculous, and then they want to further inflame the women to make them think that men are ridiculous because they hold opinions like J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States. You see how that works? So then they can just discredit any man making any criticisms about modern femalery that is rampant at this time. Like snarky, hateful opinions, like a whole hate movement against men that's been going on for decades. A statement like that, and he's the buffoon, you see. Look at that. It's his position. He's the buffoon. Look. So what does that do? That undermines the credibility of the people he's supposed to be working for. But who's he really working for? Is it really for the brand he's somehow shoehorned himself in on? Oh, and the other one was, I said his wife was a lawyer, but she was also pushing woke and diversity initiatives. And she also happens to come from India, just like Sunak, who was also a robot. Isn't that a connection? Because BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, and China was a Goldman Sachs kind of project, and they all turned out to become the founding members in the Dictator Alliance. Modi and Putin, they're good, very good friends. In fact, all that oil money that's going through India, plus 65 plus billion since the war began. So what side are the Indians on again? Were they on the side of Western civilization, or maybe they've got their own like Hindu nationalist superiority thing going on, and apparently they've rickrolled the English because they were such victims, according to Russian imperialist propaganda, that they can now pay back all members of the Anglosphere with permanent rip-offs forever, thanks to that memory war framing of what the English did there, which is debated. You know, it's not like a one-sided issue. They did some good things, they did some bad things. You know where they did that imperial project? They did it in the U.S. too. So do we have a claim against the English to this day? Or have we let bygones be bygones, even though 10,000 prisoners of war died to death in a prison ship off New Jersey during the Revolutionary War? You might not have heard of that little factoid, but he wrote a book that said that a return to the British Empire model would be good. Big friends with Orban and Marjorie Greene. So I think my criticism of him is probably not off base. Oh, and his book where he talks about the poor white people he came from, he's changed his name multiple times. That's sort of a strange factoid as well. He wasn't born with the name he has. How many people can say that that's happened to them? Can I see a show of hands? Nobody? Okay. Where was it? Oh yeah, it includes a slur in it, hillbilly. Like, why hillbilly eulogy? Like, eulogy means you're gonna die, right? So the death of the hillbilly. And he couched that in terms of him caring about the white working class, or it sounds a little backhanded to me too. And especially, why would he be interested in the white working class if he sort of opted out of race himself as a globist, an imperialist, a urbanist? So yeah, the stories just don't check out. But a slick robotic operator who's run by who knows who, I guess that could pass for a politician. So yeah, I don't know. I think the Ohioans need to vote him out, and anybody in the country and not just in the country, worldwide in the West, needs to keep an eye out for these of robots, because that's not legitimate politics. It's not a legitimate politician. That's some type of ruse. And the Indian angle, look, they're all over. I guess because they speak pretty good English, they were able to get in. They set up the visa program. They're big into wrecking Canada under Trudeau. So uh, their reputation has changed. So back in the 80s and the 70s and 90s, people were happy to see them because of their religious difference and their food and their zany antics and their Bollywood, but that now has changed. They're on some type of Goldman Sachs BRICS dictator alliance kind of stuff. So Indians, if they're not cool, they're not cool. They're trying to play the robot game, they're not cool. So wherever they are, I hate to tell you, you need to look into it, because something what's that burning? Oh, is that something? What is that smell? Something smells fishy. That'd be like all of a sudden there's Brazilians all over the place. Like, oh, we have a guy just from Brazil. He's the Republican candidate in the primaries. He's pretty zany. And then there's a Chinese guy, and oh yeah, let's not forget the Indian guy again. Another Indian guy. So I think it's a combination of their pushiness, along with nihilism, and probably the terrible conditions that are still very prevalent there and getting worse because they have no real good management to speak of, that might drive them to these types of insane games and going all in with venture capital and things of that nature. So, but look how corporate drones seem to keep referring back to him now for some type of commentary on American politics. Why again? Why would he be considered credible again? Who's running these media companies that are running these analysts that think his opinion matters for a hill of beans? And who put him up to it? Where did he work again? What were the companies? How did he get into the country? Why aren't people asking the real questions here? So yeah, rhinoism is all over. The polls of the rhino romper room, it's all over that. So, but why did Trump sign off on that? What was the point? Like, why wasn't there a little bit more discussion about that? How did he slide his way in real quick like that? Oh yeah, I was here the whole time. Hello, yeah. Oh, what? There was an assassination attempt yesterday? That's shocking. So, what can I say, people? Late stage democracy on the corporate plantation. It's getting zanier by the minute. But again, this is a global affair, so there's global fingerprints and global actors in a multipolar kind of world trying to mess things up at this time. And they do seem to have that imperialist model. See, before the Civil War, that's where the Americans need to make the connection. That's the lineage of the sellout Benedict Arnold class, or as I like to call them, the Orwellian pig class. That's their lineage. These are pre-Civil War capital operators with no allegiance to the United States at all, or the American people. Their god is the dollar, or other currencies. Wealth, right? Greed is their demon. So as far as psychology goes, maybe it's shame-based. See, that's the thing. These real low slime balls, the robots, it might be shame that drives them. Like they're trying to compensate for what they know is a shameful beginning. Like they can't get that part out of their personality, and so they're trying to compensate for that shame by doing whatever authority figure tells them to do something, that they then do it. You should get some psychologists to review the robots for cues on what is in play there. I think a lot of them also are into hypnosis, because they have that glassy-eyed, vacant look to them. I think Haley is on some type of hypnosis. But look, this is just conjecture, of course. I'm sure none of this is true, and he's going to prove us all wrong. And I really hope he does. But if I'm not wrong, then I'm just going to say that it was really easy to call these things like from a far, far, far distance, which is why public participation in active living democracies has always been extremely welcome by the people that then would decide not to put people like Vance in any type of responsible political position, because he just doesn't pass the smell test. So all of them, I think there needs to be a full review. We need to find out who the rhinos are, who the wives. You need to know the wives. Where did they come from? What country? What religion? Where did they go to school? That information is publicly available. It needs to be more widespread, and people need to start getting mobilized. You have to vote these people out, and you have to stop voting for them, and you have to cause a ruckus if they do not feel candidates that are legitimate or authentic. This is coming to a head, people. This is not acceptable. It wasn't acceptable in the past. It's getting less acceptable as things get worse. So let's also not forget that BlackRock's another thing that popped up. The kid, the shooter, that they set up to get his head blown off because they had the rifles trained on him. Probably made him some promises. Who knows what they did. He did a commercial, oddly enough, for BlackRock. How many people have done a commercial for BlackRock? Anybody? Anybody? He's just there. He happened to be in the school. So, what does that indicate? I mean, what kind of coincidence would that be? BlackRock is one of the most despicable companies on the planet at this point. They're the ones that backed DEI legislation, which is a form of lawfare that targets Americans specifically and their ability to sustain themselves economically in these crappy times by deliberately being able to discriminate them for people like Vance's wife that show up off a boat and get the job instead. So isn't that a nice little tie-in with the crappy crowd? So now people are saying, Biden caught COVID in Vegas. That's a great story, isn't it? Vegas, first off, people don't ever go there. That place is dangerous, and it's run by crooks. But it's dangerous. So they open it up for families and whatever. That is just, that is also a global operation. So you think it's American, it's probably not even under American management. That place is dangerous and criminal. And you are directly endangering your life by going there for any reason. Like they have a lot of business conventions. That needs to stop. If you have business, don't ever go to Vegas for a convention. But yeah, he caught COVID in Vegas. That story alone is just, what in the hell is that man doing? Why the hell was he in Vegas? So, and now he's like trying to throw himself into a car. He He's like a walking corpse, but he's still, by golly, like Dark Crystal, the Emperor, will not give up the scepter to anyone else for reasons that nobody understands. And then there's nobody below him that where someone could reasonably say, hey, that guy can do it. There's nobody. It's tumbleweeds. It's a desert. Nobody there. Everybody scrambling for the exit. So that, let me tell you, is not how democracy started off. That's a big red flag right there. Like I said, the best thing the Democratic Party could do is be utterly defeated and throw out, and then the American people vote all of their asinine people out of office. And they do a complete reset with fresh people, with none of the 1917ers in it. Reconnected with the traditions of the past. Without any historical revisionism or memory wars. Can they do that? I know they can. Will they? That's quite another question, isn't it? Not if the Russians and the Orbanists and the Chinese and Indians and Brazilians have anything to say about it. Or Cubans, let's not forget them. They're running around here too. Senator Menendez, Google that man. That's what your little Cubans have been doing in that great big capitalist country, that damnable capitalist country that they shoehorn themselves into. So what people should not forget is 1917ists are political racketeers. So their whole game is getting into politics and then siphoning the dough off. So where did old Menendez learn that trick? And they do it not by, winning votes the right way. They do it the 1917ist way. So how long was that guy in? That's why people are not paying attention. When the Republic was set up, the free press was working. It has stopped working. So everybody else has to pick up the slack. It's going to be grassroots from here on out. These corporate people, they're already engaging in illicit activities that once we get a real president with some real people in there, we will pass a flurry of bills to eliminate these economic shim-sham kinds of activities and their operators. You were involved in politics and have affiliations with political lobbying groups, that's a 5-year jail sentence on the face of it, just by hearing that. We could do it retroactively just because they screwed up the country to the extent they did. Just think of all the vile, in-your-face kinds of propaganda that they splashed into everybody's faces for years. Don't worry about these politicos getting a rap for that. And how about this? Their assets, they get seized. They were engaged in holding money for, or their investments paid off more than they should have. All that will get seized. So these are the great things you can do when you have a government that really is powered by the people. So don't ever forget that, people. We're the people, okay? We have the power. And we decide who represents us and who doesn't. And if the people don't pass the smell test, they don't make it. And their phony stories, they don't matter. In fact, if they're a little bit too over the top with their insulting kinds of malarkey, it's possible that in the culture of the future, that won't be tolerated at all. Like maybe there'll be a pre-screening, and these suckers are not going to make it to the next screening. Like we'll have 200 people, right, for each side on the primaries. And then that first round probably won't be published because you got to get 50 of them out right off the bat. But the next 50, that would be going into the second round. And then people could start talking about things like everybody can open their mouths. You can have also some real questions from maybe the audience, like the national or international audience. You can have questions come in real time. And then somebody would decide, okay, this is a question that really does sound like one that should be asked, so let's ask this one. That's what democracy looks like, and that's how you get things done. That's how you make progress. That's how you get leaders that matter in places and positions that matter. I mean, the model I'm thinking of, maybe they'll just be regional leaders. There's just so many things that can be done. But be advised, wealth guarding people that don't want to give it up. They really like what they've stolen. And because they stole it, they're not really all that ethical. So what limits do they have again that's going to keep them from doing all different types of dirty deeds? What if they don't have any restraint along with any sense? See, the any sense part is understandable. People see that. But the non-restraint part, that's where we're going to start seeing some things. And then, that's when goons start messing up. Because they start doing overreach. And then, again, the credibility keeps tumbling until something very serious can happen. But who knows what's serious? Like, what's it going to be? And, of course, this is not the right time for these types of things because the dictator alliance is on the move. It has picked up its tempo. It already smells blood. In fact, it's probably what's behind all of these political charlatans, which people in the Cold War used to know. But now we're supposedly in a Cold War, even though it's hot. And they don't know that. Playing pretend. Probably came from all those fancy schools where they were bongoed into believing the nonsense. With some pictures on top of that. Because I think that the cameras must have been rolling for some of these suckers to do what they have done and continue to do. But look, that's speculation. We don't know. But anyway, okay, what was the other thing Vance did? A total ban on abortion. That's crazy. Come on. Why dredge that topic up? That topic has been such a tremendous waste of time. Look, whatever rules they had, I think they had something like you could only have you can have an abortion until what month? Like the third month or something. And then after that, it's like you would need some type of special permission. But generally, it would be not advised. Something like that, just some human middle ground here because... Look, there's all different types of things that can happen, and we're not going to traumatize or agitate and aggravate on that. Like, the BRICS Alliance have decided that has to be a talking point, and then you got to push it to the nines for maximum agitation effect, like he's deciding to do. So a couple other, pharma, he's a lobbyist for pharma. He set up a couple of other things that just were just for appearances, and just somehow skated into the Senate seat like that. That's also pretty odd. Strong Indian backing, that goes without saying. Wokey white. Yeah, that's normal. No. So I don't know who comes up with these people, but doesn't seem like that was the right decision. But Politics has this comedic side to it. So this is has entered the comedic kind of realm. So we're just gonna have to see how it plays out. But it sort of looks like a big setup to me. But I don't know, people. What's the next election gonna look like if this one is looking like this? What are we looking forward to here? So, what can we do collectively not to be predated upon by people like this? What do you think? Can you start brainstorming about that? Because they're really going after all of us all at the same time, aren't they? This time, yeah. This time it's all or nothing for them. They're all in on some kind of plantationist scheme. So these globos, again, Davos is another key word. Anybody that's been there, they stink. Need to look at them 10 ways to Sunday. Global corporations stink. Companies like BlackRock and BlackRock specifically, they stink. So we gotta get a bill set up for them. The Globo bill, like I said, GB. It's gonna be one page. Boop, 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 boop. That gets passed, they are shut down overnight. They're effectively dead. We can't do it. It's the power of the people. That's what George Washington was all about. Why do you even look at his face on a quarter if you don't know what he was about? Because that is what he was about. That's how he would end this. Straight up and down. There you go. The bill has been put into motion. Ding, ding, ding. Can ring a bell. Ding dong, the witch is dead. That's what the Munchkins can say. This life can be a terrible thing at times. It really does push us to our limits and beyond. Where we think we cannot be even more disappointed, we find out that we're even more disappointed. When we thought we reached the limit of disappointment, we reach another limit on top of what we thought was the limit. And that's why we have to find our ways back down when we get into those states of mind. If you've had a hard day, my heart goes out to you. I know what those are like. But the best thing is to focus on the breath. It's so easy and immediate, and it's so very physical, and that is the bridge to the subconscious, because you suddenly take control. See, it was in autopilot. It was going to do it. It was going to do this thing, that thing. But no, you took back control. You pulled the reins, and you said, this breath is mine. This is me. This is mine. And I am here. And I am now. I am awake. I am separate from anything going on around me right now. Just changing forms and conditions. And randomness. It doesn't matter what it is. I have a little book where I write down a space dukkha that just comes out of nowhere. A baseball on Sunday morning at 10:30 flies straight through the bay window and onto the couch you're sitting on. Purely random. Purely random. Of course, though, there was a causality. Did the person who did that, did they get good karma or bad karma because of that? What do you think? That's a quite academic kind of question. But it's also one you can just sort of contemplate. In what ways was it good karma or bad karma? Keep your mind occupied. preoccupied with wholesome things like that, thinking about the practice is the most wholesome thought there is. It's number one for people because it's the beginning of practical philosophy, which is practical ways to live wisely, and living wisely is its own benefit. And it's a benefit that wise people call priceless, and they do that for good reason. Of course, we can delude ourselves at times that we've plateaued or we've reached the best that we can reach, but if you have that feeling every once in a while, that's okay, because your life is probably still pretty good no matter what situation you're in, all things considered, especially because this is the place where we have old age, sickness, and death that can happen at any time, too, and does all the time, out of the blue, like that. So knowing how to care for yourself, knowing how to calm your inner voice, knowing how to not be distracted by agitating things and things that catch our attention, to catch our attention back. These are very, very, very important and essential and vital skills. And if you don't have them, you need to start developing them now, especially if you're a young person. But older people can do it too. What keeps people from practicing? It's ignorance. Once you know that it's available to you, you can start practicing. You can start researching more. Don't take my word for it. Look up a couple of other things. What do I know? I'm just a student, like an eternal one. I'm just one that's come a little bit further because I've studied a little bit longer, but I'm certainly not perfect in all of my estimations of things. A delusion is 1/3 of our problems down here. So knowing that, especially if I go back into past selves, I'm not going to say at all that I knew what I was talking about just even 15 minutes ago, because things could have changed and words stay around. So keep with the new updates. Like the me of a year ago is not the me now. If you like the me a year ago, that was that version. This is, I won't say completely different, but it's as different as my style has developed, which is the natural progression of skill, or at least refinement or change. How about that? Change. You don't have to say it in a way that people would get envious or dispute that you've achieved something, because that would be working for external validation, which is a bad habit. But rather that we have that immediacy of being, not those unwholesome things, because we drop things like that before they even get started. And we do it. If we have to do it 100 times, we'll do it 100 times. If we have to do it 1,000 times, we'll do it 1,000 times. Because once you know it's unwholesome, it's just like unwholesome things to eat. Once you know battery acid is not something you should be eating, you stop that real quick, don't you? But if you didn't know that, you might have done that, and then you might have had the causality, the karma, that like your lip got burned off or something, burnt all the way down your throat. Maybe killed you, or could kill you. That's why they say you got to keep stuff like that away from kids. But malicious people will tell you to do that, especially if it's a gray area. Like if they can put that if they can put that in the zone of relativism, then it really doesn't matter. You can try out new things. You can be a young person. You know, those old people, they said this was a bad idea, but this is a really good idea because of these reasons, so do this. And they send you in the wrong direction, politically or socially, economically, or otherwise. How about drugs? That works that way too. Oh no, I'm sure you can manage this white dust here. Because other people, they don't manage it, but you surely can. It's just this one time or two or three, and then, you know, yeah, those types of people can slip up real easy, real fast, and then it's a real long descent into the lower hell realms, which people I can't recommend to you in the least. I would say that's when the fear of God should set into you right now. You think you've got a bad look. The places go way deeper than what you think. A lot of people have first world problems. If I look back at all the things I complain about, yeah, first world problems, sort of, when they're not existential, like we're having now. But problems, there's all different types of problems. If you want to go out finding problems, you'll find them, and probably even bigger problems. So it's best not go looking where you got no damn business. I always like saying it's none of my business a lot, because if it isn't, I do mean that. I like staying out of other people's business, and I like when they do, they reciprocate, because that's sort of what dignity, civility, and respect is based on. It's based on boundaries. See, sadists like to break through boundaries, but civilized people like to have multiple boundaries. It's what polite society consists of. Like, you might think walking around like a slob is okay in the garage, but if you come to a social event looking like that, it does convey a little bit of sloppiness and disrespect. It does. A little bit of incompetence, stupidity, and obstinacy too. Maybe some stubbornness. Maybe adversarial as well. What else? Blind, insensitive, uncouth, abrasive, something like that. So what would the opposite of that be? Well, how about polished, charming, smooth, nice, proper, well-tailored, matching or not matching? I mean, stylish. How would that? Stylish, innovative, fresh, clean, crisp, functional, maybe casual, maybe formal. It depends on the occasion. Right? There's so many, all these nuances that we can really appreciate and we can really take very seriously. And that does convey a message that is very genuine, because that's how it's created, because you can't create that type of dazzling effect when I walk into a room without having given much thought to appearance and location. And now, of course, it doesn't work all the time. If you just jump out of a helicopter or two, you might be looking a little scruffy. But depending on the circumstances, you might be able to change into something fresh if you do have to meet with foreign dignitaries at a specified time and not a minute later, because their time is very precious. So, look, there's so many other different nuances of life. But look, we can get into the worldly things, but why not do the worldly things well? I think being a good person also means being competent in as many things as you can be, including politeness, including wu-wei, including not having to push yourself onto people in your vicinity, but rather being charmingly there, but not necessarily the center of attention, not needing it at all, just being happy, being amongst such delightfully, charmingly sophisticated, magical kinds of people that have led amazing lives and are accomplished in every way, and really are the top of the heap, one would hope. And if they're not, then you can make them that way by seeing them that way and then experiencing them that way instead of in a different way. Because that would be to be at odds with what is truly a good society, a good interaction with counterparties that are uh, on that level of professionalism, that they make it palpable when they are in your presence. So that's the way I see things moving forward. Why can't we have a presidency like that? Who says it's not possible? And why? Who's blocking that from happening? Who's the talent scout that can't make it has some other talent instead of that? How could they prove that their talent to be more than that? Well, I don't know. I'm looking myself, but that person would have to be a very special and accomplished and brilliant person. And with all these wonderful, brilliant people in this brilliant country, they're out there. I'm sure they are. They all need to start getting involved because we need all hands on deck. The call's going out. All hands on deck. You gotta spread that word around. Everybody needs to get. We need replacement on all levels of political engagement. So you do what you need to do. Start up the engine and gas up the tank, because this is just the beginning of some other challenging things. But remember, the first challenge is personal transformation, right? And then the other stuff, what you can do on top of that, because it's to the point of self-care. Don't let yourself get frazzled, because you pull a rope too hard and then it starts to split and all that. It has a weight limit. You have a weight limit. If it says 1 ton, don't put 2 on that rope. It could snap and kill you just like that, like a whip. Took off a guy's arm just like that. Then some other guy's head. People losing their heads out here. Don't do that. Don't overstrain the bird. But the road is long. The road is hard. But that sunrise is one hell of a sight to behold. Let's let this country rise again. Okay, coming back to Vance for a second. J.D. Vance, yeah, he should be voted out. Ohio, vote him out. He is the robot of the classes. The Globo class have decided to pick him to be, once Trump is out, then he's going to be the robot that is going to run the rah-rah MAGA movement, Hulk Hogan style, and Amber Rose style. Las Vegas taking out short positions on Trump's lifestyle. Elon Musk backing Trump because he backed Vance style. So these globalists are at war with the West. Like, they've already made deals with the East, and they think we're just all just caught in a bygone age where national assemblies could decide whether or not business was in their national interest or not. Whereas the greedy pig class doesn't feel like they should have any restrictions placed on their very dangerous and irresponsible activities. They don't think anybody should be above them. Where they like to be an international organization, like Davos. What is it? It's a ski resort in Switzerland. That's that's the oversight they're looking to have for the rest of their journey on this planet, which is no oversight at all. And banking shell games, like zip, little push of a button, and it's in a different legal jurisdiction kind of thing. Which, incidentally, works very well with Wall Street, which is also just a Ponzi machine with government backing at this point. Which leads to all that inflation everybody's complaining about, because when their little uh, what is it? Their little ticker tape goes up and down according to no rhyme or reason. That can increase the money supply just like that. So just because there were some weird manipulations in what is it? Amazon stock goes up $100 in a day, then the money supply gets expanded by that amount. If you're working a job that doesn't allow you to play and invest that gigantic amounts, well, then the money that's just been printed via the stock market is now devalued your savings. Don't even get me on the property market, which is just modern day peonism. Jack the prices, limit supply, and then bus, ship, run, stampede people from the rest of the world into the area to artificially make housing more difficult to become. And of course, scummier neighborhoods, messed up social cohesion, messed up political cohesion. That works for people that have a lot of wealth that want to leverage it via lobbying groups and robots, and they have no opposition to speak of. But rest assured, they're not in the areas where all that's happening. They're in gated communities or ranches or estates that are far removed, perhaps with their own private landing strip for their Lear jets. They don't have any problems with people getting murdered and poverty and bed bugs and diseases at all. Like COVID for them, they didn't have to go to any. They didn't have to get into the subway, right, and go from one end of the city to the next. That's not the where they're coming from. So these are the people, and these are the people that also play all the different groups off on each other, per the British Empire model, which was in India you had thousands of different ethnic groups. None of them liked each other. They played certain ones against the other ones, and that's how they maintained their position as like a 0.001% kind of minority in a country of hundreds of millions. So that type of strategy does appeal to 0.0001 percenters, and they have really no downsides up until now because apparently they haven't been recognized. Now, who's the opposition to them? Well, traditionally, it's been the 1917ists, but we know that they're just a pretense, right? How did they survive up until now? Well, they threw away all of their rhetoric about workers and adopted psych-labists, and now they're the fake opposition to the globoists that are pulling the purse strings. Now, before anybody thinks, oh, this is so terrible, how could this happen? Look, first off, they are an extreme minority. Second off, they're very unpopular. Third off, they're engaged in massive criminal activity that is illicit at this point. Fourth off, nobody needs 1917ists or their psych lab people. So what does that mean? Well, we're really looking at a third position. Now, the third position can manifest as Democrats or as Republicans or as independent party people. You can, it doesn't, it specifically should not be partisan. It's about people that subscribe to national security and also national cohesion and also a national focus, but not just an extreme version of national focus. You don't have to be an isolationist and still have a national focus, okay? That's a fake kind of position. Like I said, these plantationist, globalist buffoons, whenever they're doing something that's buffoonish, like they're taking a position but then they're clowning it, they're trying to discredit that position, or again, just cause political divisions, social divisions, animosity, and play like they don't know that that's happening, although they've got teams of psychologists monitoring these things 24/7. So, no, we don't have time for fake conservatives. We don't have time for old fake conservatives. We don't have time for 1917ists. We don't have time for psych labists. And there's a series of bills that we can work on to specifically address this threat to democracy and national security, which is globalism and globalist, such as targeting the banking sector. I was thinking the NBAB, which would be a national audit, but now I'm thinking, you know what it should be? It should just be a nationalization of the banks. So NOB bill. So the nationalization of the bank means the ownership is overnight returned to the Treasury. And the Treasury gets an oversight committee that will audit all the damn banks. And then there's going to be a stoppage, like an immediate stoppage of certain flows to certain places that are geopolitically not aligned with our values, which are indeed working towards an exterminationist program, whether the greedy pigs know it or not. See, they don't want to think about the larger implications of their blind greed. They don't want to have introspective moments. They don't want to reconsider their strategies. Their strategy is essentially a weakening strategy. But that weakening strategy within the context of a geopolitical peer competition means that they are making it inevitable that we lose that competition in the future. Now, will it be in 2 years, like some people are saying? Will it be in 5? Will it be in 10? Will it be in 20? We don't know. But as far as the Russians are concerned, they've already started on their front. They're like, okay, great, these dummies. What do we need to send them? Some money? Okay, we'll send them some money, and then they don't do anything, and then we just take over all these things that matter. So these greedy pigs have sold out everybody in the countries that they're in, and everybody who's freedom-loving and decent in the entire world. So, and then they have funded psych lab armies and radical groups within the countries they're in to mess up the political process. So keep that in mind when you see their representatives clowning people on TV, that this is their representative, that they've somehow, through all of that mayhem and madness, such as Leeds burning down recently, that didn't happen in 1950, did it? Um, so their strategy falls apart because of greed. Greed is not strategic. Greed is a defilement, and defilements lead to loss. Like the greedy strategy takes too much, right? And doesn't leave enough, and then there's always less from greed. It all goes to a handful of individuals, and everybody else gets screwed. That's what greed is about. So these people at the top, once the banks are brought back under control, these people need to be, I would say there needs to be a serious investigation into how that happened. And they all need to take a haircut, and they also might have to spend some time in prison for illegal, illicit activities that seriously damaged the countries and their economies, their cultures, and everything else. And there needs to be rejuvenation programs that bring the culture back, the economy back, and a lot of other things, education back. There needs to be all of that. So if there are some Democrats that are still Americans, they can be on board with the third position. The Republicans, we're going to hope that the majority of those are already third positionists. And then independent parties, just run as a damn independent candidate. Don't have any affiliations with these crappy parties anyway. And run as an independent with the third position program. And then once we get the majority, we pass the bills and these people go away and their nightmare is brought to an end. Their policies are not popular. And they're not popular because they're exterminationists. They're strategically exterminationists and they're tactically exterminationists. These cities, they don't look anything like they used to. London, it's a dump now. They're so rich, they turned London into a dump, a significant world capital that has cultural heritage going back thousands of years. They wrecked it in a matter of decades. So who got rich on that? I think that's a question that the English, I don't think it was the king. I mean, he was rich to begin with, wasn't he? So who are the people that got rich during that time? Those are people that need to go to jail and serve long sentences. And there should be a lot of them. But look, that's down the road. Right now, they're just totally discredited. That's how you need to see them. These are greedy people that do not belong in politics and have seriously endangered not just their own country, but the entire Western world by creating the weakness that the other side is now going to take advantage of, and we don't even know what that's going to look like. Like, if World War III clicks off and we lose that, what will the world look like? Has anyone even thought about that? Well, it's not going to be a nicer, a better place. So these are Benedict Arnold classes. They have betrayed all of the countries they're in. They're nominally of the country. They're intermarried with other people from other countries doing other terrible things. And so they're terrible people. So once they're identified, this is the threat, people. This is the threat to Western civilization, is this class of people. They're the ones, they thought they were smart enough to pull it off. They thought they had the connections. They thought or think they have the leverage in the institutions. And that's what's going on. So you're Hispanic, you're black, you're this, you're that. These people aren't there for you. I hate to tell you. I think it's time for you to start thinking in terms of humanity and working with people that are real people that aren't going to kiss your butt or pretend like we're super duper compatible with each other all the time, But we can still live together civilly, and we can also get rid of a government that is diametrically opposed to essentially all good things in this world. I mean, it's never been easier to adopt the third position. So the third position is number one, nationalization of the banks, return of the control of the finances to the Treasury Department, and the Treasury Department gets a very put together set of people that have no affiliation with any damn globos. And these people need to be vetted every which way to Sunday. Then there's going to be a review of where in the ownership structures of the and breakup of monopolies and trusts. That's number two. Number three, these flows, global flows, these trade agreements, they all need to be revisited. What countries are sending what, where, and why? And are they aligned with our values? If they aren't, F them. Don't need them. These people are working for world domination. It's not a joke. This is not an exaggeration. Somebody increases their navy by 10 times. What are they looking to do that with? I mean, just look back, what was it, Kaiser Wilhelm, to the lead up to the First World War. It was all very predictable. So what are they doing? Well, they're doing that. So what does that mean? Well, we know what that means. Do the greedy people want to stop being greedy and taking billions and millions of dollars out of the economy? No, they don't want to stop making just grotesque amounts of money, like abstract numbers amounts of money people couldn't spend in thousands of lifetimes. And yet they still want more and more. So what do they need to be? They need to be stopped. They're out of control. They have lost the script. They've lost the people that they lived amongst. At least one thought they did, but actually they don't. That's the other thing. If they have to be in a city, it's all security down. It looks like the green zone in Baghdad. In fact, the Green Zone Baghdad is probably built on a model that they have in other places like London or other capitals in the West. Brussels, who knows? See, if you're not in the security theater game, then you don't know. They don't really let normal people know. So how about another one? Energy sector. That's right. We're going to look at the damn energy sector. We're going to look where scientists and economists can point out that all these bottlenecks were set up for them to rip off the countries that they have infested. So, and how could you say they operate? Well, they operate a lot like spies and saboteurs. They're not aligned to the countries, but they are very tuned into the politics. They're sort of like a third party entity in any country they might be in. So people supporting them, they're guilty by association. So anybody supporting these people, anybody propping up these people, anybody working for these people, I would say vote with your feet. Leave them high and dry. Don't support anything they do. And that's just the way it's going to be. These people have declared war on Western civilization, and they're doing it from the inside. And then they think they can show up in public and smile and glad hand and buffoon us with public relations stunts that are deliberately off-putting, including all the off-putting commercials that they have on TV for their crappy products. That's cultural jamming is what that is, and that will be a crime as well in the new administration. But How are we going to do it? Look, people are going to need to adopt the third party position and they need to be grilled on it. So here's the position, person X. Let's go through the numbers. Where are you on these points? And then we'll rate them on that. No, 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 no means a globo. And then that globo, that info needs to go back to everybody in their vicinity, and you need to vote them out. People need to know you got a globo. You don't got an American or someone from the UK. You've got a globo. You don't got a German or a French person. You got a globo there. And a globo is a no-go. And someone else might be 1, 2, they'll be for this and that, but not for the other thing. Well, then they get a 50% rating. I'd vote them out too. And then the new candidates, you're going to say, well, we got a field candidates that will be third party, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. If both sides say no, that's what you need to do. But that's how it's done, because we got to rate them on these types of matters. They're not associated with the country. They sold the country out there. They've adopted some type of utopian nonsense that they sort of also took from the 1917ists, but even believe less in it, using it as a tool of oppression, a tool of suppression, of inversion, of extinction. Yeah, well, no, we don't need them either. They're worse than the communists, okay? These people are worse than communists, okay? The globoists. Like communists, it's true that they were totalitarians, but they didn't bring in people from every which way but loose into your neighborhoods and into your country. They didn't do that. But on the other hand, don't fall for so-called far-rightists that are Orbanist or connected with Eastern dictators, because that's just a ruse. They're like, okay, what do people want to hear? Oh, these talking points, and we can get our guy in like Orban, and then turn it into a cartel, a globalist cartel, because he's a globalist too. Then that's what we'll do. We'll just fake the voters out. But see, the third position is, yeah, you have to stick to the position. And if you do a flub or a fumble when it's supposed to be executed on, well, then you flipped on the mandate, and so then you might as well be considered a globalist too. No matter if you're Republican, Democrat, or independent, and be treated as such, but not just a globalist, but a traitor as well, a traitor to the mandate of the third position, which is the position that is best for the country. It's not, it's an anti-globalist platform to address the globalist issue and not these other fake issues that the globalists like to stir up. Like, again, animosities between different groups. No, we're welcoming to all different groups to a certain extent, which is to say they might have committees within the group, like Committee A and Committee B. And we will work with those groups who are working with their communities, but we're not going to kid ourselves that we're all the same thing. We are different communities within a country, and that's okay. Why not admit it? And you have your leaders, we have ours, but we can work together, or we can work against each other. So who amongst you is going to work against us and who's going to work with us? That's what you need to sort out. Because we're not going to be working with people that's working against us. It's just like that. And there's benefits for working with us, and there's disadvantages for not working with us. You don't work with us, why should we help you? Why? What did you do? Spit in our face, kicked us in the butt? What? You want something from us? What do you want again? It's going to be like that. That's normal. But things are not going to be getting better the way this thing has been going. I think everybody knows that now. They're just looking for the solutions and the people to deliver them. And this is what it looks like. Third position, this is how we do it. Republicans, Democrats, doesn't really matter. Independent maybe is more of a thing. But globalists and rich people, so again, rich people know. You want to stay rich, then don't try to block don't block the third position, because if you do, then you don't deserve to be rich. That's the way it's going to be. And you want to have both. You want to be a plantationist and a patriot. That's not how it works going forward. You're a plantationist. You're not. You're a Benedict Arnoldist if you're a plantationist. So there's between patriots and that class is a wide, unbridgeable chasm. And these criminal interests, they know that. They just play pretend. So we can play pretend with them too, can't we? We'll pretend that we believe their pretense while they're gestating and making ridiculous statements and trying to kick up some dust and doing the whole Ponzi thing and considering themselves really rich for strange reasons. And so profile them. Okay, any lawyer? No. That just forget about it. You're a lawyer, we don't need you necessarily. I mean, maybe. I'm going to make an exception for maybe some good ones that don't have the Ivy League background and don't have the 1917 background and don't have any affiliations with that class. Okay, if you're one of those, fine. If not, forget about it. So any of these Ivy League schools, any schools, boarding schools, where they have formulated this globalism, they are gonorrhea. That's it. Until things change in these schools, anybody coming out of them is gonorrhea until proven otherwise. And it's unfortunate. It's the last thing anybody would want to do, but now we know how they worked. They kept us all out. The gate kept the admissions, and then they flipped the ideology on us all. So they flipped on us, we can flip on them. It's that easy. So do they have respectability? Well, they used to, but they lost that credibility actually a long time ago, but now it's just a done deal. This is how they operated. This is what they did. This is the result. They have zero credibility. They have a negative credibility, okay, going forward. Oh, I paid so much for this. Well, yeah, now we know where your allegiances lie and your head is, and it's up your butt, essentially. So don't play pretend. We know how, little spies and traders work. They really want to be friends, but they have nothing. They have no authenticity, and then they flip and take strange positions and play a robot. So don't even try to come in on that. And again, any financial sector, no. Equity, any type of affiliation, equity, banks, no. People used to think that was a sign of success. Now it's a sign of failure. And why? Because they fail. Their failure is palpable. It's historical. And it's inevitable. So don't give up hope, people. We're millions. People, like the election, how did Labor get in? Well, something like 50 million people didn't even vote because they didn't feel like the Tory was the one party they thought was conservative. That got hollowed out. They weren't going to vote for Labor, which is a bunch of like the the bottom of the barrel sludge of humanity at this point. So they couldn't vote for them. Now, again, some of them voted for reform. Reform is also sort of like a safety valve. They still don't have a third party position party, but maybe they'll get off the ground after they hear this, and then they can apply the same strategy. Same with Canada. Canada is screwed up. Australia is in danger. As far as media goes, yeah, look for media outlets that are more reliable than the mainstream ones and don't fall into these conspiracy theories and crazy overhyping kinds of techniques, because that's how they discredit you, by getting you to believe in a bunch of nonsense and then pointing it out. Look at this. This person believes Alex Jones. Okay. That makes you crazy. And it's a technique that 1917 came up with. Agitation and misinformation. So you're not clever, and you're not only wasting your time and poisoning your attitudinals, you're being misled by the same people that think it's funny that you think that's somehow the inside story, when it's just a damn conspiracy theory. Look, people are pulling off all types of things. I mean, it's just the way this world works. It's purgatory. But we can't get caught up on it. And we certainly aren't going to be able to solve any of these mysteries if we don't have any communities that are filled with people that know what they're doing and care about what they do. And we don't have that. So that's sort of the a priori problem. So third-party position people, let's do it. And the national, what was it? Bank Nationalization Act. There we go. NBA. There we go. We can forget the B and the audit. It's just going to be the National Bank Nationalization Act. B, National Bank Authorization. See, I'm getting mixed up here. NBA, National Bank. What's the name? National Bank Audit Bill. Bank Nationalization Act. No, it's BNA. There we go. Bank Nationalization Act. BNA. Yeah, so we've upgraded the bill just right now. NBA. BNA. BNA. So number one, third party position. Come on, people. And drop the 1917ism. Any 1917ists, you're going to need therapy to get the misinformation out of your mind. But look, what do? It's always animosity between groups. So that serves the globalists, and that's why they tolerated them. And that's also who they sold out to with their psych lab armies when they threw the working class under the bus. So we all know that. It's a fact now. Forget about them, their history, and everything they did. They're discredited. They're a disgrace. So you're liberal, you're this, we don't need you. Go away. Also, these people came from schools. You just know that they've drank the Kool-Aid. So we don't need them. Look, these other parties, who accommodates you? Both parties right now. So give everybody else a choice. Third party is completely different than, or the third position is completely different than what they've been manifesting up until now. It has to be. Otherwise, we're not going to make it, people. So get organized. And it could be regional. Regional is good, too. Don't think, oh, we can't win the whole country. You win some regions or cities, that's good. That's very good. But the goal is the entire country at some point, because it needs to be, because otherwise it's open to invasion, and we're already seeing a hybrid version of that. And it's not going to stop unless it's stopped, and this is the way you stop it. So get on board, people. That's the way. Third position. I thought about being a hero and how people think about that and how that relates to the inner dimension, because that's really where heroics reside. everyone can have heroic moments, and they can have the opposite of that. They can have moments of cowardice. They can have moments when they fail. They can have moments when they do not do what they set out to do because they gave up or because their mood changed. So heroics from the inside, in the spiritual dimension, you can every day you can have heroic moments. For example, in the moment that you commit to the discipline of the practice and you did the 28 bows or 28 times 2, that's a heroic moment. You have overcome your inner resistance. You've defeated your inner self in a way. The lazy self, defeated. The distracted self, defeated. The hopeless self, defeated. The complaining self, defeated. And it's those little battles and those little victories that people should see as heroic. That person who got in your face and you didn't lose your cool, you're a hero in that moment. You overcame normalcy and subnormalcy, and you achieved supernormalcy in line with your values that are supernormal. You see how it starts to evolve, and then over time, as your character becomes more and more supernormal, people will be, whoa, who is this person is a hero, is what other people say about you. See, but that might happen, it might not happen. It might get switched. Somebody might tell them, no, this person is a bad person because they did this and this, but that person could be a hero. You see? But it doesn't really matter what the other people think about you and your battles and your victories. Your victories matter to you. If you're a hero to yourself, that's all that matters. But what I do know is that if you rack up those internal victories, it can be that externally at some point you will be recognized by others. They'll say, oh my God, this is amazing. This is an amazing person. How did they do it? Heroes exist. Well, how did they do it? Well, they've had to put in a lot of work in many cases. A lot of people, some people are born heroes. There are natural born heroes. There's no question about that. But this is being an intentional hero. This is for people that don't start off heroes. This is for people down in the dumps. This is for people that don't have control over their basic functions, don't have control over their emotions, don't have control over their moods, don't have control over their thoughts and changing forms and conditions and randomness like everyone else. But because they practice, because they take it seriously, because they put in the inner work, they are heroes. They have a heroic motivation. They have a heroic dedication. And it's a step-by-step process, and you're not going to win every time. I'm just going to let you know. There isn't a hero alive that won every battle. Many of them lost thousands of battles. But they still continued. That's the heroic principle. The heroic principle is not outcome dependent. The heroic principle is autonomous. It's above. It's beyond. It's within you. And you have a grasp of that. But people lose the grasp. You lose the grasp, you have to get it back. Of course, you don't have to, but it's better for you if you get it back. If you want to return to the higher states of consciousness, you have to get it back. You have to work on getting it back. You have to adapt. Okay, I tried it this way, it didn't work, let me try it this way. This doesn't work, let me go back to the old way and add this to it on top. You have to fake yourself out sometimes. Now, of course, it's not you. Look, there's 3 parts of your personality. And we're not always in control of our higher faculties. Everybody knows this. That's what it is to be human. To be human is to err. But to be a hero is to admit it and to correct it and to adapt and to be innovative. Tricky, really. These 3 parts of your personality are tricky, so tricky on back. You want to have a drink of alcohol, you know you shouldn't. Drink a whole liter of water first and then another liter just to give your whole physical body the sense that you've been overhydrated. It wanted to drink. Well, that's what you gave it to drink. Your hero tricked the desire for it into the healthy direction. But just staying there cold turkey and saying, no, I'm not going to drink, although you're thirsty, and then your mind's sending you the images of what it wants to drink. Why? Because it knows that type of drink could relieve some type of inner suffering that might be deeper seated than your practice up until now has been dealing with. Or perhaps it's an environmental variable that triggers it, or somebody saying something that triggers these things, such as just using the word or fixing a label to you that suggests that you have a problem with it, that then triggers your anger, that then triggers the other things in a complex that would make you think about that as a method of relieving suffering instead of the right method, which is the practice, which is confronting the suffering, not dulling it, not dumbing it, not putting it off, not procrastinating, no, taking it head on. Okay, look at this. I got some of this rage energy coming in here again, so let me use it. Yes, I've got this. Yes, I've been waiting for this. My practice can use this. Oh, yes, I'm not dead. I'm alive. Yes. I'm going to take all that jet fuel and I'm going to burn it in my karma furnace that I have set up. And then you can do something. You can say, all right now I'm taking a breather. So you could say, look, I'm taking a break. Walk away. Give yourself 10, 20 minutes in a quiet place. Do the breathing exercise, bowing, body weight exercise. Let it go. Say, I just had to deal with someone, or I needed to take a phone call or something like that. Yeah, a phone call with your inner self. See, be tricky with your health. Let people take breaks. Your inner struggle, your inner situation is way more important than whatever's going on out there here in purgatory. Here today, gone tomorrow. Promised this, delivered that. That's what purgatory is about. But your inner life, your inner reality, that is reality. And that is important. And it does affect your health. Like, spiritual health is the prerequisite for physical health. It doesn't matter if you're physically healthy, if you're mentally sick. It doesn't. It doesn't matter a damn thing. Some people would rather be physically ill. I would rather have a flu than be in a state of just total rage or greed, craving I had, or comparisons. They had this, but I only have this, and I want that, and this person told me this, like that crazy type of thing. I would rather have the flu. Because that is just something that is neutral, isn't it? Just out of the blue, people get sick, it stinks, you got a fever, but you're not tearing yourself up in all that different type of crazy way, where it really doesn't seem to have a cause even, because you've lost sort of the connection, or it's cosmic, right? It's collective unconscious kind of stuff, or it's past life stuff. Like, why am I having all these visions of doom and gloom when there's no reason for that to be here? Why do I feel like I should be doing something else when right here, right now is perfectly fine and I'm not doing anything? It's perfectly fine. I'm a living being on a magical planet. Why can't I sit down for 5 minutes and feel at least neutral in my own body that isn't defective or injured or sick? Why can't I enjoy that? What's the problem, right? Can I change my attitudinals? Can I change my perspective? Of course I can. Well, let me change them right now. Oh, isn't that nice? Drop that jazz. But if I didn't take the time to do that, see, that's the congratulatory time. You should congratulate yourself when you do that. That is the definition of supernormal. So you just entered the club. People were saying, oh, you're putting other people down. Look, this path is open to everyone. And I did not say I'm always supernormal. I am not. Woke up this morning and heard that they analyzed the audio at the rally where Trump was nearly assassinated. They have all different types of shots that were fired from different positions, different rifles at different times. And so that would indicate different shooters. So, you know, this purgatory type place, it's going to throw you some curveballs for sure. Now, what would be the problem with getting over engaged with that? Well, that would be identification, or an over-identification with all of that drama, right? Should it matter to me, right? Why should it matter to you? Must it matter, or is it just a morbid curiosity? Or perhaps it is information that is in some way beneficial if you don't get worked up about it or over-identify with it, if you can just see it as a spectacle with different moving parts. Why not? It isn't you. It isn't yours, but it may have a negative, or could have had a negative effect on the trajectory of the planet if these types of things were able to have just been pulled off without, let's say, adequate investigation of all the people involved in that, the oversights and the unprofessionality, and then the conspiracy on top of that. I think it's pretty damning, whoever was or agencies were involved in that, including the misinformation that came out that it was just a lone gunman and things of that nature. So unprofessional professionals doing something that's happened before. But that would sort of be per the model of people that aren't all that smart but do like to take things away from people and play pretend. But of course, who knows? This is just right now conjecture, but I don't know if they've started the manhunt for the two, possibly three. We're talking multiple shooters here. Based on the audio, this is science. This is not conjecture. You can hear a crack of the supersonic and the thud of the detonation, right, of the gunpowder, because it travels slower. And then you can also gauge distances and also trajectories based on that with just modern microphones. placed in different locations that you can then do comparative analysis on. It's pretty simple physics. But, you've got a whole organization that doesn't seem to know about those things. So a couple convenient flubbers, like interviewing people that profiled the shooter wrong kind of things. Said he was this, but in fact he was just the typical that kind of thing. And it's sort of hard to get those things wrong, isn't it? You interview someone that says that doesn't have the right information. So, this life is a journey. And it's all about the journey. It's not about the destination. Destination is death. Like Joe Biden doesn't seem to realize that, but don't be like him. Everybody dies. And you shouldn't wait till the very end to enjoy it. You should be enjoying the journey. And it's a heroic journey, right? You don't want to be on the loony bus. So I also heard young people that are worried about FOMO and stuff, like a fear of missing out. That is a killer. That is a mind killer. Don't ever think that. You're young. Oh man, if I was 18 again and I could bring myself this practice and slow myself down, I could have made so many different choices. And even if I didn't make those choices, I would have been fine. Like looking back, I landed in a lot of different great places that if I had just stayed there, I would have kept myself from having a lot of other different problems down the line. But see, that's another comparison that older people do. They want to go back and they want to live a perfect life. That's sentimentality or whatnot. I mean, I would have missed out on a lot of other great things if I had done that. But I certainly would have probably had a lot less disappointments in certain areas had I just stayed in the good places that I found myself and cultivated those instead. Although, whenever you're going back into the past, it's always delusional. Mara is going to send you some version of it that isn't true. You did leave those places. You could have stayed in those places. See, you forget that you could have stayed in those places, but you left those places because at the time it seemed like the best thing to do. But people like to second guess themselves after the fact and then put some sentimentality on top. And what do they cause? Well, they cause unnecessary suffering for themselves. If I had only done this and not that. But see, life is not perfect. That's perfectionism. Don't do that. But no, you're not missing out. Purgatory has suffering on tap, old age, sickness, and death. That's what it has on top. And has a lot of delusion, greed, and ill will, too, that you need to be eliminating and reducing and avoiding. And if you do that, you've really accomplished the goal. And the other things will just manifest by themselves. At least you don't have somebody pushing you to do something and also making you feel like you're missing something. When you're really not. What you're doing is missing an illusion. That mind that you fear you're missing out on, that image you have, that is the perfect Mara image that's been produced in your mind to make you feel like you're missing out. But it's not that way. If you were to get that thing that you're thinking you're missing out on, you would immediately discard that thing. And you would have a feeling of disillusionment with that thing, eventually. If not immediately. Because it wouldn't be the thing that's in your mind that you get. That's just the way it is. But that is how delusion works. So FOMO, you need to catch yourself, stop yourself, and then start the practice. Start just doing bowing whenever you do it to discipline yourself. Turn that into a positive thing. Like the presence of unwholesomeness should just be a trigger for practice, and that's how you that's how you flip the script. You turn unwholesome and wholesome, because it's like that tennis ball machine that is shooting you. You have your racket, it shoots the ball, then it's game on. If it didn't shoot the ball, there would be no game. Now, of course, our mind wants to think, well, if there was no balls being shot at me, then it would be a perfect world and I wouldn't be crazy. But look, have fun with it. If you didn't have that ball, there would be no game. There would be no interaction with these things that you can defeat. Like me, when that ball comes out of nowhere, I'm walking around with my racket, I'm actually somewhat bored. Then it comes and then bam, my my right hand, what do you call it? Just got one of those killer hooks, and I smash it, and it just flies like a rocket straight over the net at an angle that still makes it hit those corners, because that's the way I've been training. So it's automatic. And now if somebody were looking in the bleachers, they would be amazed at those skills. Compared to other people, the ball gets hit, they shoot the ball and it hits them straight in between the eyes every time. Then they turn around, it hits them in the butt. They're just helpless. They don't have a racket, they can't move, and they're just getting beamed by these tennis balls of unwholesomeness. So don't be like that. That's normal. That's common. That's vulgar. That's stupid. Bring some optionality. Get that racket out and move those feet, move those hips, those shoulders. Get yourself one of those some fly tennis shorts and shoes and shirt, so that you're looking crisp and you're ready for it. Right? You're prepared. You know when you hit that court, what can happen. And you're waiting for it. You're looking forward to it. When you interact with it, it's skillful. But of course, when it's gone, you've done your job. Congratulations. That was a great shot back. That was a counter shot around the world. And then you can think how that could have messed me up just 1 year ago, and now it's easy as can be. Like the shot that they would shoot behind your back when you walked, and then you had to hit it with a backhand and flip out like this, flip your left leg out and hit the backhand. That was the shot that you were always messing up. But now it's smooth. It's a well-oiled machine. That is your best shot right now. You can hit it every time because you're in the practice. But before, it would beam you. But that's not the player you are right now. You're at a completely different level. People show up, they're like, this guy is amazing. This guy should go pro. This guy is a pro. He doesn't even know it. Doesn't even need to be pro. He's just practicing. He's in his backyard. And this is his space. This is his place. This is his form of purgatory. And as much of randomness and changing forms and conditions that you can eliminate from your life, like negative randomness. Like if I'm standing on a street corner in a bad neighborhood, chances are way higher I'm going to be involved in some scuffle or another. But if I'm in the middle of a forest, there is a 0 chance of that happening. Okay? Or a negligible chance. So where would the better place for me be? Now some people would say that's too extreme or too boring. Well, okay. Find some happy middle ground between that works for you. And if you're a lay person, just go to your damn job, get back, and that's it. Limit your exposure. You don't also have to turn on these TVs and find out what are the rest of the problems in the world like a lot of people do. It's a bad habit. Now, I'm not really someone that has totally cut ties with the world yet, obviously. But I do admire people that do it. And I do think in a certain time, like Joe Biden, when he turned, 65, he should have done that. Just said thank you for playing, or I'm very happy to have worked for me during this time, and now, or worked for you, and now I'm going to work for me. And I've only got so much time, so bye. I'm retired. I'm doing something else, and I don't need to deal with people. I got enough money. So it's about meaning. It's about preparation for the next life, the next lives. And if he did that, and if people do that, it's a perfectly honorable and acceptable thing to do. This working yourself till you're dead kind of thing is appalling, as well as unskillful as could be. That's another thing. Third world countries, we're a bit more advanced than them. They don't treat old people don't treat themselves like the way old people do in so-called first world countries that don't know how to retire. Look, knowing when to retire is a skill. There is some unskillful people. We have an unskillful culture. And part of it is because of the plantationism. They want to work these people to death. And they're going to work to death, so that they're setting the baseline like that. But who the hell should follow people like that? I don't. 65 and you don't know when to retire. Get out of here. You're crazy, right? Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to do that. Like some people, they're so in sync with their work that it's not work. So they don't need to retire kind of people. I get that. But people that are deceiving themselves about that, I get that too. Now, in his case, he definitely should have given it up. But look, there's not a lot of skillful people in purgatory, is there? But we all, no matter how unskillful someone might be, one day they will kick the bucket. And then it's a question where they end up after that, because, near-death experiences, look them up. This is not UFOs, people. This is really about the nature of spiritual reality that our ancestors knew, but smart morons of today have forgotten. Or poo-poo. No. We're a dialectical materialist, and because we have the wealth advantage, we're superior to everyone that is po. And how do we get rich again? Oh, well, we have these political machinations to make it impossible to fail. We a class of classists in 2024 that's so big-minded about our plantation. We'll just have any old people come here and we'll treat them like dirt too. Because we're above. We're a class. We're space cadet people on a globo plantation with materialistic values that are self-serving, because that's what we have. We have wealth, but we just don't have dignity, civility, or respect. So they think their schemerous, sadist, psychopathic, narcissistic way is the way that will prevail. But I think people can now start spotting them as a class, as they have now define themselves as a class, and then as a class they have all of those attributes and rituals and conceits that they share that are also discernible to good people that can then recognize them as the shall we say, zany lunatics of our time that have no aristocratic qualities to speak of, but all of the avarice, stupidity, and incompetence that the old ones did. That In the United States, at least, they got rid of, and in France too. But now we got a neo version of up-to-date plantationists that have no allegiance at all for Western civilization, that still have some type of moral compass they feel that is also secularist, that doesn't include religion. Sounds like it doesn't really make any sense, does it? Well, it doesn't, except for greed and the rationalization of that, at the cost of, again, everyone else doesn't get a damn thing except piss thrown in their face forever if they can keep the lights on, even though they don't understand electricity, how it's produced, or technical matters, or basically anything other than greed rackets and those other not so positive psychological attributes that infest them, like flies do horse stalls in August. So, but is that a really redeeming quality? Is it really cool to be that? Are they really special? Do they just think that? Maybe that's it. Maybe they're delusional. Maybe the good people aren't delusional. And maybe their little schemes are coming rapidly to an end. In fact, I think they're already over. I just checked. I think somebody cashed them out, but they don't know it yet. Could be the big man upstairs. But they do look goofy, don't they? And that piss throwing in the face of the public, I really don't think that's a winning political strategy. I mean, they call the counter strategy to that populism, but I would just say a popularism. Like people with sane policy versus insane, greedy people, and their utter disdain for who they don't consider their fellow citizens. So nominal people with their utter disdain for citizens of the country that they may or may not live in all the time. So that's what we're looking at. It's so obvious after, looking at this for such a long time that that's what we're dealing with. And it's international, so this type of gonorrhea, it has different flavors. It's got the two pig flavor, 1917ists and plantationists, and then their wig flippery and moralizing mixed in. But yeah, look at the details. Have they changed their name 2 or 3 times during their lives? Maybe there something doesn't check out there. I would just assume that would be the case. So these political candidates are unvetted at this time, and the news agencies that present them as credible, they're not credible either. So, but is it the same people, went to the same schools, covering each other's butts and stealing all the money and pissing in people's faces and calling it rain? Could it be true? I guess so. Well, what bill would that be? How about the media ownership bill, where we have a committee go in and investigate that type of phenomena? Connect some dots between personnel and other nefarious activities in the financial sector. How about that bill? So we'll just have 10 bills get passed as soon as we have the majority, and then it'll be a wrap on this episode of plantationism in our time. And like I said, I forgot the Asians. Look, there are some good Asians in the United States. I've never had problems with Asians. I specifically want to mention the Japanese, the South Koreans, and the Taiwanese, and the Thais. Now, anybody other than that, we're going to have to see. What did they do? How did they act? Who were they affiliated with? And whether or not that's in the national interest. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. for reasonable people in a reasonable country, is it not? What would my brothers in Japan say about that? I think they would agree with me. And so who doesn't agree with me? Well, it's this trash that's pulling these games. So we can have an Asian committee, we can have African American committee, and we can have the Indian committee. Anybody else who wants to have a committee, we'll have a committee for them where they can send delegates and we can talk with them as they are, with a lot of respect and compassion for what they're going through as communities. And although we're separate, we're also together, aren't we? In a coalition of people that want to live together with civility, dignity, and respect.